In part 1, we exposed all the luxuries the Netanyahus demanded from Arnon Milchan, but part 2, it's even juicier. In today's video, we're going to see exactly how BiBi pays Arnon back for all those favors, how his shocking victory marked the beginning of his downfall, and how he took advantage of a horrible situation to acquire one of the largest online news media outlets in Israel, turning it into his own personal restaurant. So stick around and make sure to hit that like, follow, and share, because you won't want to miss the ending of this one.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if you told it to you.
In part 1, we covered all the benefits that Netanyahu received from Arnon. We're talking champagne, cigars, jewelry. But here's the thing, those benefits went both ways. The corruption went far beyond unlawful gifts. Netanyahu crossed into conflict of interest and even breach of trust. Let's break it down. The tax law scandal. Arnon allegedly asked Netanyahu to push back the deadline for a tax law that would benefit him tremendously. We're talking about a 10-year tax break. Of course, Netanyahu denies the allegations. Arnon also denies them. But then you have Yair Lapid, the former minister of finance. He confirms that Netanyahu did, in fact, approach him about this tax break. Lapid said it was funny because the law only impacted a very small select group of people. And get this, he further added that it was the only tax law Netanyahu ever approached him about. Netanyahu also helped Arnon with a nuclear scandal. Here's the backstory. 40 to 50 years ago, Arnon was instrumental in helping Israel acquire all kinds of equipment for its secret nuclear project to build nuclear bombs. Side note, why did Israel even have an undisclosed nuclear program in the first place? Legally, they weren't allowed by international agreements because they opted out of the Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1968. So in other words, Arnon was able to help because of the don't ask, don't tell arrangement they had with the US. But I digress. Years later, Arnon starts bragging about his involvement, and it backfires. The US strips him of his visa status. Hadass, remember her from part 1, confirms in her police interview that Arnon reached out to BiBi directly, and Netanyahu admits this was one thing he actually did help Arnon with. His justification? He said, "I perceived it as a matter of national security. That is the only time he talked to me about a personal matter, and it's not personal. It's a matter of national security, in my opinion." So what happens? Netanyahu speaks with the Israeli ambassador and even U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry. Eventually, Arnon gets his visa reinstated. But listen to what Arnon himself said at the end of his interviews on the matter. "I deserve to get help. I can't just give and give and give." By the way, can you drop the word bribe? Police says, "No. If this gets out, I'm ruined." Fast forward to 2015. All the polls predicted Netanyahu would lose. Instead, he wins big time. That victory did something to his ego. Hadass recalls, around 2015, something changed. It felt like he doesn't need to give any explanation to anybody at all, like Caesar. And we need to obey not the rules of the kingdom, but His Majesty. Nir Hefetz, BiBi's campaign manager, backs this up. He said after that kind of victory, BiBi started to believe he was untouchable, like magician. And this was the point where BiBi finally started believing what Sarah had been telling him for years. "You are the one." According to Hefetz, this victory was the very beginning of Netanyahu's downfall. Enter Shaul Elovitch. Now let's talk about Shaul Elovitch, Israeli telecom mogul. Hefetz, remember, was a key witness because he acted as the messenger between Elovitch and BiBi. In 2016, Elovitch was in a full-blown panic mode. He had a deadline to pay back massive loans worth billions of dollars to the banks. He desperately needed BiBi's signature for a quick loan of $200 million. Hefetz claims he delivered the document to Netanyahu, but BiBi completely denies the allegation. So here's the big question. How would BiBi benefit from Elovitch? The answer is simple. Voila! Elovitch owned Walla, a massive Israeli news website with its own news department. Avi Al-Khalei, Walla's former chief editor, explains Walla is the oldest Israeli news website, and for years it was the most popular news source in Israel, especially among young adults. This was exactly why BiBi wanted its cooperation. He craved positive media coverage, and this is where the problematic relationship began. Netanyahu wanted Walla to portray him as the King David of Israel, the wonderful leader. He wanted his wife to look good in photos, and his son to appear as a caring, principled man. As Avi put it, we felt like a restaurant serving only one person. He arrives, he wants that meat, that salad, and he gets whatever he wants. They even used code words, like parsley meant more photos, preach. Less paprika meant not too spicy, not too critical. And in the end, BiBi gives his signature for $250 million, and in return, he gets control over Walla. So in part 2, we see how BiBi and Arnon's relationship comes full circle. BiBi uses his political clout in the US to get Arnon's visa reinstated, a clear conflict of interest, though he claims it was national security. But the plot thickens because BiBi then capitalizes on Elovitch's desperation to gain influence over Walla News, turning what critics once called Walla Hamas into his own personal restaurant where code words decided what Israeli citizens were fed. But as I've said before, BiBi ain't no King David, and when you have to use the media to project that image, that's sad. Well, that's all for part 2, but stay tuned for part 3, where we'll dive into how BiBi actually thinks he's running a kingdom, and all the other reasons why he can and will never be anything close to King David. Oh, and if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, follow, and share for more. Until next time, the Faceless Prophet out.
If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth even if you told it.